Hey everybody, welcome back to the Elijah Rising podcast. As I'm sure you have already figured out if you're watching us on YouTube, this is a little bit different. We are on site, we're on location, we are a mobile podcast today, and we're doing it because something special is happening, and we've jokingly referred to this podcast as Sam's swan song. Because Sam is leaving Elijah Rising after how many years?
8 years.
8 years of serving with Elijah Rising. And so we decided to, this is really David's idea, he decided to take the podcast on the road and to kind of go through the journey of Sam's life with Elijah Rising.
Which this is so sweet. I did not demand this or ask for this.
She didn't ask for it at all.
Which is in my character to ask for something extra like this, but I did not. But I feel very honored.
It feels very appropriate to be so extra about it. So throughout the episode, we're going to be at different locations that are significant to Sam's journey with Elijah Rising. So we're at our first location. Where are we, Sam?
We are at the Morris Cultural Arts Center at Houston Baptist University, our alma mater.
Yeah, dogs up.
You know, and like I'm so far away from that life. But the thing that is special about this building is that I actually met both David and Adam here.
Yeah, let's start there. Let's actually tell the David story first, and then we'll jump into our story.
Yeah, so like freshman experience, like the welcome days, me and David were in the same Husky pod.
Husky pod, which Huskies don't travel in pods.
Yeah, or like Husky pack. Husky pack.
We're sorry, HBU, we're trying.
Yeah, and we met, we became Facebook friends, and then years later, when David got connected to Elijah Rising, it's because we had that previous connection. He ended up not going here because it was very expensive.
Right.
And I can say that was, whatever.
We love you, David. Yeah,
it's very expensive. And then later, and then I later met Adam.
So what years were you here?
I was here 2008 to 2012.
2012, and I think I was here from 2011 to 2014. So we overlapped for a couple of years, but we never had a
classes
class
together, which is so sad.
Yeah, I think we may have I may have seen you in passing, out here back and forth to different places, because I was a Christianity major and you were a Christianity minor.
No, major.
Major, okay, you double.
It's fine.
Double
No,
majored.
I double majored.
And
it's
so
really important.
It's kind of a big deal.
I also had a minor too. They didn't ask me that, but I just had enough credit
philosophy.
hours.
But okay, so the building we're at though is it's Mcnair Hall at the Morris Cultural Center, and then there's a chapel here called Beelan Chapel, and so Beelan Chapel is really central to HBU life for many reasons, but one of the reasons is because it has a large projector in it, and in the early days of Elijah Rising, one of the main things we would do to raise awareness, but also to just kind of introduce Elijah Rising to Houston, is we would host screenings of a documentary called Nefarious Merchant of Souls, which is produced by Exodus Cry. And if you know the history of Elijah Rising, Exodus Cry was very formative in helping us kind of get off the ground and figure out what we wanted to do as a nonprofit to work in the anti-trafficking space here in Houston. And so my story is I helped start all of that, and so I was a student here at Elijah Rising and said, hey, we could do a nefarious screening.
He was a student here at Houston Baptist University in Elijah Rising.
In Elijah Rising, Houston Baptist. Those two roads of my life were parallel. They were all at the same time. Thank you. And so we did a screening here because I was like, I've got connections. We could do it in Beelan. We could, mobilize the whole school to come and attend. And I knew that there were some folks on campus doing outreach already.
Yeah, I was doing outreach with a friend, Jen, already, and kind of was getting passionate about this issue.
Yeah.
I learned about it from a friend who was with Love 146. I actually started a Love 146 college chapter here, but I wanted to have a local connection where I could do frontline work, partner with an organization. So that's when I heard about Elijah Rising, and I was like, I need to get involved with these people.
Yeah, so we did a screening here in Beelan Chapel, and tons of students showed up. The attendance was far beyond what I expected, and the impact, a ton of students were impacted by it. And so we kind of got up afterwards and talked about Elijah Rising, had this impromptu prayer meeting that kind of broke out on stage. It was wild. And then we all kind of rushed out into Mcnair Hall, and I had an info table about the work of Elijah Rising set up right there. And I will never forget, that was the moment that then Sam Smith walked up to the table and did what?
I think we've told this story to podcast. Apparently, I walked up to him and was like, my name is Sam and I want to end sex trafficking. Hi, very nice to meet you, and I would love to join Elijah Rising.
Yeah.
Or did I say I want to work for Elijah Rising?
You said I want to work for Elijah Rising. I have a plan. have a vision.
Set your intentions.
Yeah, and she sure did. And I immediately thought, man, this girl knows what she's talking about.
You know what? I really did come to Elijah Rising saying, I'm going to work
You
full
did.
time.
You
I'm
did.
going to lead your interventions,
You
and
did.
I'm going to mobilize churches. And y'all were like, hello, it's very nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Who are you?
She did. Yeah, and my immediate reaction was like, this girl knows what she's talking about. You clearly articulated some things where I was
didn't
like,
know what I was talking about. I knew a
well,
little
none
bit.
of
I knew
us
a little
really
bit.
knew what we were talking about. But I was like, she has passion and she has a plan. And I said, yeah, sure, let's make it happen.
Yeah, which, I think this is a thing. Some people see Elijah Rising and think we're this big, huge organization, and we really are this group of people and this group of volunteers. And back then, it was the same thing. I thought Elijah Rising was this big thing, and it was really like five faithful people that were running it. And so I begged Micah to meet with me, and God bless her, it took her 2 months to be able to sit down with me. And I said, look, I have this plan to mobilize churches. Will you let me present it? And so I had nervous sweats and all night prepared my presentation, and I showed up at their office with a bunch of people in like exercise clothes,
Yeah,
like
just chill.
sweatpants, just hanging out, and I came in a blazer with a like 30 slide PowerPoint presentation called I don't know if it was called the 300 Challenge
The
at the time.
300 Challenge.
I think it was the 300 Challenge.
You were
at the
like,
time.
she said, I have a way to connect every church with every brothel.
No, every brothel with a church.
With a church, that's what it was. Every brothel with a church, like an adopt a brothel program, essentially was what it was. And we were like, let's do this.
And I was like, okay,
It's time to do this.
And like to kind of sum up what I think I was thinking on the way here, like what does HBU mean to me as far as that moment of Elijah Rising? It was a moment of seeing how awareness spurs on passion, and like a person who just wants to help can jump in. And it's like a special journey of being like, what am I passionate about? How can I bring something that I want to do with a group that already exists? I don't know. So people don't wake up one day being experts on any issue. You start somewhere, and this is where my journey started. And I think that when I was mobilizing people and working with volunteers, I saw those little Sams everywhere who were so passionate, and I just wanted to give them the tools to do it without harming anybody.
So and what's interesting about that is the early days of Elijah Rising, like a ton of HBU folks were very formative. Like HBU played this critical role in the advancement of Elijah Rising, because I mean there were many of us and that has a lot to do with myself and you and just our spheres of influence, just bringing
them
people
in.
But it's
Megan,
the awareness
Sandy,
and the
Lily
passion.
Lopez, Justin, and you,
all
myself,
these people.
Hayden. It was a ton. And HBU actually did an article about it one time.
They did. There's a magazine article out there about us. So yeah, you kind of did it already, but any final thoughts on this? This is where it started. This is really where it all started.
My main final thought I'm feeling is that I'm getting old.
That's true. We both came onto campus and we were like, this is weird. This feels weird. Where are we? So much of our lives are spent here.
But I don't know. It feels emotional.
Yeah. So we're going to move to the next location. All right. We are at the second location of the Elijah Rising podcast. And I know you might be wondering, where the heck are these people? Why are they out here in this very busy industrial area? Sam, why don't you tell them why this is significant to your story?
Yeah. When we turned down the street, I was like, I've driven down the street so many times, it almost makes me nauseous to think about. But this was the original Elijah Rising awareness route that we used to drive in the van. And these are the first places that I did outreach. Specifically, this place right behind me used to be called...
The parking lot we were in,
Yeah, it used to be called Paradise Spa, and then this was Jinza Spa, and then also we had 5806 and 5818, all of these locations that women were being exploited. And before I was with Elijah Rising, I was literally just in these places, meeting the women, talking to them, giving them resources, and learning how easy it was to access trafficked individuals, in the sense that customers could find them easily, but also outreach people could find them easily. And this kind of inspired what if every church in the city took one space and helped just bring resources, bring all kinds of different things. And that this really, and all of these places are closed down now, which is
every single one of them. I mean, so Elijah Rising's office at 5818, where
it's
you worked for a while,
one block that way.
Which we're going to come back to that here in a second, but it's one block that way. This is, I mean, there were at least 4 brothels on this block, and Elijah Rising's first Saturday morning prayer sets were just in that building right over there, which happened to be a brothel, and other things happened in that building. So it's just such a significant place. And I think it's just so important to say, like, and I've made note of it already, and you just did too, but like all these places are they're all shut down. They're all like used car lots and other things.
Yeah.
But let's talk about 5818, which we couldn't get to that parking lot because it's a totally different business now, and they got a gate up and stuff, and we respect that. So why is 5818 Southwest Freeway significant? And just like, I want you to kind of put yourself back in your office in that space and the feeling.
Yeah.
So kind of talk some of that out.
Well, it was a place that I did outreach with a friend, and
when it was a brothel.
It was a brothel.
Yeah.
And I remember being scared to go inside, like the first time. I remember being afraid, and these were the moments where I was just learning about this issue and learning that this was real. Like every day felt like, I don't believe that this is actually happening right here. And mind you, HPU was 5 minutes that way.
Yeah, we're not
we
far.
literally did a 5-minute drive to get here.
Yeah.
So that in itself was a shock to me. So we worked with the landlord to shut down 5818, and then all of a sudden it becomes our headquarters in our office.
Yeah.
So every day we're working in there. And mind you, for years it wasn't renovated. It wasn't clean even fully.
It still smelled the way that a brothel would smell.
Yeah,
there were no windows.
There was no windows. But it was also this wild moment of like, we can take something horrible and make something beautiful. We had so many trainings in there, outreaches in there. And so my whole life, even before Elijah Rising and then well into Elijah Rising, was walking up and down Star Lane and 59 Freeway and going to these places with coffee and with conversation. And I think that I'm really grateful that that's how my journey started, was coming from a place of just meeting the people that were being impacted and being informed by their journey, being informed by their struggle, being informed by how difficult it was. And then, we built out the museum. A lot of these places when they were shut down, I was the ones going in and doing photo studies afterwards, gathering artifacts, taking, evidence and things like that built out the museum pieces in a lot of our presentations. And so this was where I learned about trafficking and the bidding, this and Bissonnette, an online back page, really.
And I think this is where the city of Houston learned about trafficking. I mean, Sam,
thousands
of people heard you, myself and us, but heard you talk about and educate and humanize the issue. Right there, that building. I have walked through those doors with you to reach women. Mm-hmm. I've walked, that was a difficult place to get into, but like I've walked through those doors to try to reach women with you. But so has the whole city of Houston. It happened right here.
Yeah.
It's your legacy.
It's crazy.
And now they're not brothels anymore.
Yeah. And it's cool because there's dozens of teams across the city that's what they do every day. That's what they do every weekend. That's where they go and they do these things. And for a long time I was like, oh no, I'm not doing intervention anymore. But it felt like such a cool thing to then move into mobilizing others. Yeah. And that dream of like, engaging all these churches, at first I only got 5 churches that signed up, but Fourth Friday interventions came from that push. My church met on Fridays to do our Adopt a Brothel Challenge. And all of a sudden we said, what if we invited everybody to our Fourth Friday? And now there's a Fourth Friday, a Second Friday, a Third Friday, not because it's like, oh, I'm so great. It's not about that. It's just like willingness and compassion, just begetting more willingness and compassion. And the Elijah Rising volunteers, I say this a lot, not to be like lip servicey, but they're my heroes. Yeah. Because I remember coming to places like this and crying at night because I saw what was happening and I saw the tears in their eyes, and then going to churches and going to people and nobody cared. Yeah. There was a time when nobody listened and everyone thought I was just this crazy person who wanted, everybody to care about something that didn't matter. And I was like, I was begging. And now to see that hundreds of people care and they are not afraid and they're willing, and it's people from all backgrounds. And so it makes me feel hopeful, and it makes me feel so much gratitude to our volunteers and the volunteer base and how they've walked. Because also too, I'm a very creative person. I also have ADHD, and I'm a very passionate person, which doesn't always lead to me being the best communicator and the best like organizer. But people were like, we don't care, Sam, it's okay. We'll run with you. We'll figure it out together. And I don't know. It's like this place has like bittersweet memories. Yeah, it is. It does feel like very, like, again, seeing the places closed, it feels hopeful. It feels like victory. It feels like, man, we were successful. It feels like I can put myself back in the van going up and down the street. You know what I mean? It's like, thousands of people were mobilized, but it is kind of heavy.
It's heavy.
It's because there was heavy things. I mean, we were working in a building where women were tortured.
Yeah.
And someone that we knew was tortured in that building.
Yeah.
And every day people came through, and sometimes people came through and they still didn't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we had men coming inside that building every day for the longest time to buy sex.
Yeah.
As a woman, like meeting these men and them being like, where, what this and that, and it was very deep and very heavy, but windows in an office do a lot. So
windows are helpful.
And not working in an abandoned brothel.
Yeah.
But for the time, it did a lot in the city, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, we're very grateful for the season that was 5818.
And little did I know where I would end up next.
Yeah, where the next location you'll find us at is where you ended up next, and you've talked a lot, but I just wonder if there's like a bow you want to put on kind of this part of the journey here for the audience.
I think when people think about shutting down brothels, they say like, well, that doesn't matter because they're just going to pop up somewhere else.
Yeah.
But if we make every neighborhood unfriendly to people who are exploiting people, then they won't have places to pop up anymore. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it.
All right. Hey, we are on location number 3 of the podcast, and this is another very significant location for Sam's Elijah Rising journey.
And a very unexpected one.
Yeah, we kind of threw this one in at the last minute. But where are we? What are we doing?
We are in one of the homes on the Elijah Rising Restoration campus. And the crazy thing is that, we kind of talked about how I did like the work in town working with intervention.
Yeah.
Well, I remember talking and thinking like, okay, if one of the women that we reach wants a place to go.
Yeah.
Like it has to be in our houses. Like we had nowhere else for anyone to go. And then we had the opportunity to buy this campus in 2015.
Yeah.
And shortly after we purchased this campus, which we accepted the offer on my birthday.
Oh,
They accepted our offer on my birthday. It was really special. But I and Micah and others moved out, and I actually lived in this house. It did not look like this.
Yeah.
It was literally like holes in the ceiling. Anyway, it was insane. No running water.
Because the property had been vacant for years.
Yes.
Years and years. And so these houses were dilapidated. They were falling in. I think you described it as a
skylight?
Skylight at one point.
Yes, it was just a bad
hole
roof.
in the roof. Yeah.
Yeah. And I spent 2.5 years living here.
Yeah.
And working on this sprawling rural property.
Yeah, you guys would work on it nearly every day, along with doing prayer meetings and maintaining intervention and awareness work, and then going back and forth to 5818
every single
to
day.
Work every day. But there was something else was started in this house. We were kind of just talking about it before we started filming. What else happened here?
So this is a place where the candles, the social enterprise, happened in this kitchen.
Yeah.
We, I had some ideas with what we could do, and we started making a set of candles. We sold them at our very first trade show or like fair, craft show. And then we were able to hire our first ladies to come and work in that room twice a week. And so they would walk over, we'd spend time together, and we would begin creating what are now Elijah Rising signature scents: the cactus flower, the tobacco cedar, lavender, citrus grove. Those were all like originally made right here. And a discontinued wood shop, that was one of our first scents. And that all started in here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and we're so thankful for all of the volunteers and donors and all the people that came alongside you and Micah and David and so many others to make these homes livable.
You know who the first group, first church group to come and work on this house was?
Who?
David Gamboa's.
What?
Right there. His church group came and painted and fixed posts on the back patio.
Wow, no kidding.
Absolutely. And
what does it feel like to be back in here now that it is gorgeous and ready for overcomers to live in as they go through the program?
It's overwhelmingly I have an overwhelmingly good feeling, because I think the time that I spent in here, just stressed.
Yeah.
Stressed that how are we going to make these things happen? How are we going to open a program? How are we going to figure out how to do any of this stuff?
Yeah.
And how are we going to get it to a place where we're not just, I was here doing restoration work with walking with women and driving in every single morning and coming back. And it was just not sustainable at the time, but we were a grassroots movement and had seasons like that.
Yeah.
And so I just feel so much gratitude that like this is here, and that 8 Days of Hope and all the other volunteers and donors that, I don't know. So it's a beautiful thing to walk away from, to see something really healthy and, but we had I've had so many memories in this house. I remember I had a woman living in this house with my family because we just needed a place to stay. And right outside this window, we were pulling dead rose bushes out. And we were pulling these deep roots, and she just started to cry. And she was like, this is why my issues, my trauma, this is why it's so hard, is because it's so deeply rooted in my soul.
Wow.
And I was like, yep. That's right. And it's like, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not there to confirm.
That was a moment of healing.
It was a moment of healing, just like living together, working together. And I had lots of moments like that. I had lots of moments with Chelsea and other people, in this space. I remember, meeting Chelsea for the first time right in this room. And it's just crazy. I just can't believe that this is my chapter's turning. So
yeah.
It's wild.
Well, thanks for being a part of the journey. Thanks for being a part of bringing this home to where it is. And, it's really the entire campus. It's not just this house that y'all lived in, but really you invested a ton of, I literal blood, sweat, and tears.
Oh, yeah.
into
literal blood, sweat, and tears.
This entire campus, which we know you can't see all of it, but we're surrounded by 80 plus acres of hope, I think. And so we've only got one more location left on this tour of Sam's Elijah Rising life. So stick with us. So we've kind of taken a long journey. We've been at this all day long. Started at the very beginning, went to 5818 area, went to all the way out to the campus. And now we're here where you're currently working for at least the next few days. Mm-hmm. And so as you look back over the whole kind of beginning to end, what are you feeling? What are you thinking?
I feel a lot of things.
Yeah.
I feel grateful and scared, because it's like letting go and trusting that the thing that you built will last. I feel sad.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to miss being here. But I feel excited for my next chapter, and I feel excited for, anytime a new person steps into a leadership position, you get to see like new gifts and new seasons of strengths come into it. So I'm very excited to see what new strengths get brought to the things that I've built, And it's not only that I'm leaving social enterprise, I'm also leaving intervention, which I don't do anymore, but it's stuff that I developed, or the volunteer portals, and so
even the van tour that we've talked about, and even the
restoration piece.
Restoration piece that you did that work. I mean, you did. You unlike most people at Elijah Rising, maybe with just the exception of Micah, because even I never really did any work in the restoration part. But you've literally done everything that Elijah Rising does, and you've had your hand in crafting that, designing it. Starting things, getting certain things off the ground, and now they've flourished into these buildings.
Which of course, it's a great team and great leadership and great community, and just letting it go, and it's a lot. Yeah. But I think I was telling you this earlier, my whole job at social enterprise, and maybe speaking to the audience of why is Sam leaving, or what is this, my whole thing is telling them follow your dreams, follow what it is that you want to do, find your gifts and take risks and bet on yourself and love yourself, and here's how to advocate for your future career goals. And I found myself wanting to do it for myself. So I held the hands of one of the women I work with, and I said, we get to graduate together. We get to do our dreams together. And just knowing that in the same way that I'm following my dreams, like the women I've worked with get to see that and be inspired in a new way.
Yeah.
And like, it's just exciting. It's exciting to model that and to like feel like the things that I've sown into others like get sown into me, and that's really cool. And I'm really excited for my new life as a donor. I was really grateful that like this business I've been working on last year did well, and I was able to give into specific projects. And I want to see. I hope my dream is to open up a foundation that funds social enterprise opportunities and things like that. So it's really good. It's just really sad. And, you know, I love everybody here. I love the whole community. I love even our online community. And
I was going to say, you know, I anticipate that there will be lots of people who either watch this or listen to it through the podcast, you know, channels that know you. Like they have either, like, maybe they've done intervention with you. Maybe they did a van tour with you. Maybe they've helped in social enterprise. Maybe they are a wholesale customer. Maybe you trained them, you know. And so I just kind of want you to think about like all of those people, and you can't think about all of them, right? But just, you know, pick out those faces in your head, and how do you say goodbye to them in this moment? Maybe that's impossible. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I think I say goodbye by just like asking them to like understand that the movement isn't connected to a person.
Yeah, it's good.
It's not mine. It's not me.
Yeah.
And even though some people might see me as this like, well, I see Sam a lot on things, you know, my blue hair just popping up on thumbnails. And
Sure.
But like, I'm just a person. Like, I'm just a person, and everybody has an opportunity to lead and it has an opportunity to step into their own. And so I'm great. I want to be like released. I hope that people let me go and feel okay and can be happy for me.
Yeah.
But I also want people to know that they are free to rise up in leadership. They're free to do things, and there's many special things about me, but there's nothing special about me that sets me apart from like the rest of our team rising into their places and this and that. And so I don't know. I don't want to say goodbye. I just want to say see you in the next season of who I am and what I do, and it's going to look different. I'm going into the for-profit world for media and things like that. I'm not going to be in this, but I will always be a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm going to miss these guys a lot. That's really hard. But so I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for people that have supported me, that have walked with me in this mission, that have walked with Elijah Rising, that have walked with the women that I've served. So many of you guys have answered phone calls at 2 a.m. when I'm in a crisis with a client and need help, or have taken the call when I'm like, hey, I just need this specific money for this thing that we can do, or how do I do this? And even though I'm moving on, like my heart is in a state of gratitude.
Yeah. Well, I think even though you're moving on, our heart is in a state of gratitude, you know, and I think I can speak for the community and for Elijah Rising and for the staff, and just, I think more than anything, we have to say thank you. Thank you for giving your life, your time, your talents, your creative brain, your energy, maybe more than anything, that energy, and your personality. I mean, you are, it's not about one person. It should never be about one person. But we also know that sometimes all it takes is one person to take an ember and start a forest fire, and you've done that. And you've
that's nice.
You've changed the city. You've changed the city, and in some ways you've changed this world, and you've definitely changed the landscape of anti-trafficking work. Great, now we're crying. But so thank you. This podcast, just so everybody is very clear, David and I really shoulder this podcast.
Yes.
But it would not be possible. It would not be possible without Sam. And so thank you for that. Thank you for all of your creative musings, and we're going to miss you. David and I our office is going to be quieter. And
you're welcome.
I don't know. I think we're going to miss it. I think we're going to miss it a lot. And so I think on behalf of the whole audience, thanks for just being you and doing what you do. And so many of us have benefited from it. So many of us have learned from it. I know personally I have become better at what I do because of you and because of just you being who you are. And thanks for that.
I'm gonna hug you.
Yeah.
He hates this.
I don't really know how to end.
I'm gonna hug David too. no, I get POV. Sam gives everybody. Here, I'll hug the camera. Come here. Come on. Bring it in. Bring it in.
Hug the people.
There we go.
I don't really know how to end this podcast, and so I don't.
So comment down below if you think that Sam is the worst for leaving. I'm just kidding.
Or the best.
And
I think the way we should leave it is just by saying, like, though Sam is leaving the staff of Elijah Rising, she lives on here, and that's it. I don't think there's anything more to say. Thanks for going on this journey with us today.